Hello, I'm Nicholas Lovell, author of The Curve, and I'm here at the Ivy for the Big Thinking Breakfast with MSL Group. The curve is a new way, essentially, of looking at and taking advantage of the supply and demand curve. I mean, traditionally, we've had the view that as you lower price, you increase volume, and your job as a retailer or a marketer is to find the sweet spot of price which maximises the area under that curve. What the internet has enabled, because it's enabled one-to-one relationships with people, it's enabled us to cost-effectively segment our audience in different ways, has instead of there being one price point, which is the best average price that makes everybody happy, but leaves the cheapskates kind of going, oh, that's too expensive for me, and the super fans from saying, oh no, I would happily have paid more, so this is amazing value. It goes, there are easy ways of trying to offer lower value and higher value products for different customer bases. The question about whether or not to keep the freeloaders within your structure is a really important one. And I think there's several different answers, slightly depending on the nature of your membership organisation or even your customer base. The first one is that if it is really cheap to satisfy those customers, it makes sense to keep them because it's getting so much harder to get hold of new customers. So if you can basically service them automatically using digital technology, zero marginal cost, and that makes them happy, then it makes sense to keep them. There are some caveats. The first one is if for some reason they're a disruptive influence, then you shouldn't. The second one is if you don't have the self-discipline, which lots of people don't, to focus on your best customers and make sure that they take up most of your time, and you end up focusing on the volume of customers who are not an important part of your business. Having said that, those cheap, free end of the market customers have several very important functions. They're obviously word of mouth. The more customers you have, the more clout you have. If you have 100,000 people, you've got more potential for recommendations. You're more likely as a membership organisation to be listened to by partners, government, stakeholders, or whatever. So that's one big one, word of mouth. The second one is potential converts. It might take people a long time to move from being a freeloader to being a super fan, and if it isn't costing you very much to keep them, then keep them. But the perhaps most important one is gawkers. And that's a phrase which I sort of use to say, if you want somebody to be a super fan, then they need to have fans to compare themselves to, and the fans need to have non-fans to compare themselves to. And you need all of these things to exist in a curve, in a continuum that way. That identity element has become incredibly important. It always was in the physical world, but now with 1 billion people connected on Facebook every single month, we're amplifying that behaviour massively through social media. So what that means is that as somebody is trying to express their identity and spend money with you, all of us are consciously or subconsciously crafting the identity we want to display to the outer world with every single purchasing decision we make. What that means for brands is twofold. One, make sure you have an understanding of what identity you're addressing. But secondly, how do we make it that somebody, by spending money with us, is broadcasting something about themselves they want to say? And how can we amplify that message? Either, obviously the route is they buy some new clothes and take a selfie and post it to Instagram. But in the other direction, it's around going, how do I support that sense of identity with all of my marketing and marketing collateral in order to amplify what those people are feeling? They're all different ways, so it's not a right answer of everybody should apply the curve equally. And some people, by the nature of their brand, will find it much easier to do the connecting bit, or much easier to do the superfan bit, or much easier to do the earning the right to join people from followers to superfans. It's not a given. It's a framework for how you think about where your strengths lie as a brand.